So, good morning, bonjour. My name is Lorenzo from University of Innsbruck. I am working in Aurora in the task team Green Campus, which is the one which organized the Sustainability Summit. So that was me and some of my colleagues who are here. I'm very happy that you all showed up. I hope it's going to be an interesting 3 hours in the morning and then another few hours in the afternoon with the workshops. I'm going to say a little bit about those later. Maybe like a short thing for today. The morning will be organized in 2 blocks. In the first block, we will have a few presentations about things which are done in Aurora regarding sustainability. So they are from different work packages, different areas. And our idea was to show things which then could potentially be applied in other fields, so that you could see something which is happening in one area at one university, which could then also maybe be incorporated in your teaching or in your work somewhere else. After that, we'll have a coffee break, about half an hour. I mean, we are a bit late, so we will see how it goes. And then we have another session, which will be started by a keynote speech and then followed by a panel discussion. And this is about how networks, because of course Aurora is a network of universities, can contribute to foster sustainability at institutions, at organizations. So that's for the second part. So then for the first part, I would like our still relatively new Aurora president, Veronika Sechsel, also from my university, for her short introduction or her short words to set the stage a bit before we then come to our presentations.
Thanks, Lorenzo. Dear colleagues, dear students, dear friends of Aurora, ladies and gentlemen, it's a great pleasure to welcome you here to the first ever Aurora Sustainability Summit, taking place here in Paris, better like this? Taking place here in Paris as part of our annual conference. It marks a new chapter in our collective journey, and it's a timely one. All around us, we are seeing unmistakable signs of a world under pressure. Heat records are broken, months after months, glaciers are receding, ecosystems are collapsing, and communities, frequently the most vulnerable, disproportionately affected by climate and environmental crises. These are not abstract threats. They are today's realities. As universities, we do have a responsibility not only to just observe these developments, but to respond. Not to react, but to act with knowledge, with innovation, with action. Sustainability is a holistic challenge. It extends far beyond emissions and energy. It encompasses social justice, health, education, equity, governance, and economic transformation. The Sustainability Developmental Goals capture this. They are far from perfect, but they provide a powerful and shared language for what we are striving to achieve. Not only in research, how we organize our institutions, and how we collaborate across disciplines and across borders. Within Aurora, our approaches to the SDGs may differ, but what unites us is our shared resolve to integrate them meaningfully into our work and our missions. And this summit is a testament to that unity. I would also like to thank the Université Paris-Est Créteil for so generously hosting us and for your clear commitment to sustainability in all dimensions. My deep thanks also go to Lorenzo Rieck from my own university and to Susanna Hunkova from Palatsky University, Olmütz, both in front here, whose leadership of Task Team 6.2 under the Aurora 230 program has made this summit possible. Their work, alongside contributions from many other Aurora colleagues, had advanced real progress from the Sustainable Campus Action Plan and Common Footprint Reduction Plan to the development of campus-wide sustainability monitoring and student-led green initiatives, thanks to the students. But the work on sustainability in Aurora does not stop here. We can't stop there. It lives across multiple task teams and initiatives, for instance, through our Sustainability and Climate Change Hub, or in efforts like the SDG Education Task Team. However, this summit is not just about presenting achievements. It's about creating space to learn from each other, to exchange best practices, and to accelerate change. It's about founding a strong foundation for the Aurora Sustainability Report and to create a momentum for the years lying ahead of us. So let me end with this. We are not here just to talk about sustainability. We are here to live it, to shape it together. Thank you all for being here. I wish you now an inspiring, solution-focused and forward-looking summit. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Veronika, for your introduction. As mentioned, the task team 6.2, we're working on sustainability, mainly on the campus. We are not only organizing that sustainability summit, which was one of our main also things we have to deliver to the European Commission within the second phase of Aurora, but we are also working towards seeing how we can measure or monitor progress towards sustainability at our universities or throughout Aurora. And that is connected to the next presentation, where Susanna will present what we did regarding a sustainability survey, where we collected, let's say, certain data from all partner universities as a kind of baseline, and we will use that to then see how we can establish some kind of sustainability monitoring across Aurora. This is, of course, quite focused on, let's say, the hard facts, and Susanna will talk a bit more about this.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Susanna Hunkova. I'm from Palatsky University, Olomouc. I am a coordinator for sustainable development at Palatsky University. And as Lorenzo said, I would like to shortly present you our survey that we did through 8 Aurora universities about the stage of sustainability goals and how we are doing in this field. Okay, it's working. So as I said, we had 8 universities involved. In the survey, there were 43 questions. It was pretty long, but we appreciate very much all the partners, especially in our task teams that were filling it, because it was quite many data to put in. But we have nice baseline to start to work with, so it was very important to do it. And we ask in 8 areas. These 8 areas were defined in our sustainability action plan that we defined a few years ago. So we are following on that. Okay, these are the 8 areas. So there is building and energy efficiency, energy demand and production, mobility, water waste, wastewater and waste, food and accommodation, biodiversity, procurement, and accessibility. Okay, I'm struggling a little bit, okay. What are the common data? So 7 out of 8 universities have already counted their emissions by this year. 5 universities are already counting their emissions already from 2019. And 3 universities are counting already all 3 scopes. I would like to ask, do you know what are the scopes for counting the emissions? Who does know? Raise your hand, please. Okay, not very much, so I will just shortly introduce that. So we, according to greenhouse gas protocol, we are counting emissions in scope 1, 2, and 3. Well, scope 1 are the direct emissions that the company or organization or university are producing on site by their own resources. So it means that by their own cars, by their own fuel things and so on. Scope 2 are emissions that are bought, so it means mostly we are buying electricity from the companies and so on. And scope 3 emissions are the emissions that are everything else that was not in scope 1 and 2. So it means if we are buying computers, IT, if we are buying anything that are including food, for example, there are emissions for not only producing that, but also for the travel to our place and so on. So this is just to imagine that the scope 3 emissions are really large. It's usually the most of the emissions, and it's very complicated to get the data. That's why most of your universities starting to count emissions from scope 1 and 2, and 3 is a little bit tricky, and so we have already 3 universities that do that, and we hope that others will follow soon. And we were following the protocols like greenhouse gas protocol, ISO certification, or different national methods for counting the emissions. Together, from all the emissions that we got from this survey, we had 138,470 tons of CO2 equivalent emissions. I know this is a number that nobody knows what does it mean. So I tried to ask AI, or how could be the equivalent to imagine for people at the conference. And AI told me that these emissions more or less make 17 households per year. So, sorry? 17,000, sorry, yeah, 17,000. Okay, that would be too little. Thank you. 17,000 households. So, I mean, it's a quite big city in Czech Republic. Okay, we are a small country. But when I imagine that, I feel like, okay, we are producing a lot of emissions by our universities. And yeah, that's the point where we can start to think how to reduce them. Now I would like to go through all the 8 areas very fast and to present how we are targeting, what targets do we have, or maybe we ask also for good practices from these areas that our universities are doing, and some of them I will talk about here. So in building and energy efficiency, 7 universities already have targets and measures. And 3 universities has already 100% renewable energy for heating and or cooling, which is already pretty good start. In energy demand and production, we are even better. So all 8 universities that are in the survey have some targets and measures for this area. And 5 universities already have 100% renewable energies. And 1 university has already 5% renewable energy produced on site. It's not a lot. I think all of our universities, it's also even saying there that 4 universities have already goals to build renewable resources on their site. And I think this is, in this area, this is the goal how we should proceed to lower our emissions and to build more. Most of the universities are talking about the photovoltaics, probably on the roofs. Mobility. 7 universities have targets and measures in this area, and 6 universities have already data from mobility. In mobility, we speak about 2 different ways. So one is commuting from students and employees to university, and second one is business trips. When I put the data again together from all the universities, it made me this graph. It means that green one is commuting, so 3/4 are commuting, and 1/4 is business trips. I think this might be very similar for each university like that. It can nicely mirror this. So also we can see what we could focus on, what is causing more emissions. Water, wastewater, and waste. 7 universities have some targets and measures, and 4 universities have measurable targets already there. Here is one of the examples. University of Iceland will, among other things, begin composting organic waste on site using composting machines where organic waste will be transformed into nutrition-rich organic fertilizer in a short time, creating a sustainable cycle. This, according to me, is a very nice example of how we can use our bio-waste, and that's why I choose it among the other examples. Because when we were, for example, focusing on that at my university, doing process with the organic waste was pretty hard. We were trying to also do it on site, but we realized it's in real conditions now in the Czech Republic, it's not possible to do it for us, also economically. But we have regional composting gas stations. And there we are using, or we are delivering our bio-waste, so at least that. Okay, food and accommodation. 3 universities have targets and measures. And another example from the University of Paris. Regarding the contracts that UPEC have for catering, we tried to diversify our partners to allow a no-waste approach and to favorize organic and local food, which is also a very nice example. Thank you for that. Procurement. 6 universities have targets and measures in this area. And example from University of Naples, UNINA have the minimal environmental criteria called CAM, which are the environmental requirements defined for the various phases of the purchasing process in order to determine the best ecological solution for the project throughout its life cycle. Biodiversity. 5 universities have targets and measures, and University Rovira and Vigili in Spain has target for 10% of green spaces addressed to urban biodiversity by 2030, which is about 10,000 meter squares. I think this is a lot. This is a great target. I don't know how much green areas actually University of Palacky has right now, but when I imagine this 10%, I think we definitely don't have that. So it's a very ambitious goal. Accessibility. 7 universities have targets and measures, and 5 of them have some measurable targets. The aim, and this I took for all, I didn't put just one example of one university. I think this should definitely be a goal of all of us. The aim is for the university to be 100% accessible to disabled people. I think we are already very good in that. Many universities, or most of the universities, are already almost reaching that. But of course, there is always something to work on. And yeah, as I said, this should be our goal. So I think that's the end. Thank you very much for your attention, and I hope you're gonna enjoy today and all the presentations, and especially the workshops in the afternoon. Thank you.
Wait, maybe we have time for 1 or 2 questions, even though we started late. So if there are some questions to Susanna, then please. Otherwise, I'm looking, anyone?
Maybe I can add to the survey that this survey is one of the goals for our task team in Aurora. And it's a baseline. We did it for the first time in last autumn, this winter. And we are going to repeat it every year now for next 2 or 3 years. So we're going to see if the targets are changing, if the goals are passing, and so on. So maybe in 2 or 3 years when we are meeting here again for another sustainability summit, I will present you how we are approaching our goals and targets.
Yeah, now we have some questions. And
now I'm afraid.
Happily pass the microphone here.
Thank you, Kees Kouwenaar. I was wondering, do you know if other alliances have a similar approach with surveying as a stimulus to enhancing sustainability measures? And are you in contact with them?
Well, to be honest, we are in contact with one or little bit, but I am not sure about this. I would lie. I don't know.
Hi, I'm Vanne from University of Iceland. Did you ask, or do you know how about us, your Aurora universities, how we communicate about this, like internally specifically? Because I know we at University of Iceland have published a sustainability report for the last 3 years, I think, and it has really made us more aware, just also by mobilizing our colleagues and students in this direction. So just wondering what you know about how we communicate.
You mean the communication of the sustainability at the universities? Yeah, we didn't have this in our survey. That's a good point, and I think we might add this for the new part. But that's the important part, I know. And yeah, we don't have the data for that because we didn't ask. But I definitely think that's an important thing. So yeah, we will add it. Thanks for that.
Okay, thanks for the questions. And I think now we can come to the next presentation, which is by Marjolein Zweekhorst. She's a professor for innovation and education in the health sciences at VU Amsterdam. In Aurora, she's leading the work package 4, which is working on international and interdisciplinary community service learning. And she will now give us her presentation. We're just switching we had like a tiny issue with the included video, but I'm quite sure that it works now. I think we have to switch that on. Okay, please.
Thank you so much, Lorenzo. Welcome everyone on this third day of the Aurora meeting, and I'm happy to see so many people. We had a wonderful evening, I think, last night. So it's hard to get ready to race and be here, so I'm very proud of you that you made it just like us here early in the morning. I will give an example. I was asked to make a case for sustainability on good practice, and I will show an example from our university, the VU. But tell a little bit about myself. I'm a professor at Innovation and Education in the Health and Life Sciences, and I really work on transdisciplinary approaches. And within transdisciplinary approaches, we involve scientists from different disciplines, as well as community. Because for some complex problems, only science is not enough. We need, and the sustainability is a nice example, if we really become more sustainable, we need to include the public and work together. And that's very nice. The Aurora is really focusing on SDGs, and I think all our universities have that focus. And of course, one of the SDGs is sustainability. And I think for these kind of problems, we need transdisciplinary research. For addressing these problems, one country is not enough. We need all the countries, we need all the disciplines, we need all the people. And even beyond Europe, I think we need to include the people. Now, as Lorenzo mentioned, I'm leading work package 4, and we have 3 task packages. The one is, and I'm focusing on that one today, on the challenge-based and co-creation service learning. I will tell about it a little later. We have education for sustainable development, and we have South-South triangulation. So that means that we also work with partners in the South, and that makes our work package, I think, very special. Okay, community service learning. Just in the audience, who's the student in the audience? Any student? Yeah, look at that. I think the students are more than the others, so that's a compliment for the students, I think, being here. Do we have teachers here? A few, okay. And do we have support staff or policymakers? Yes, so we have them all. And for community service learning, we need you all. What we do in community service learning, we work with real-life examples. So most of you have been trained with at least theory, and you have some practice. And practice you can do as a teacher, develop it and think for your own, which is the safe way out, because you know exactly what pitfalls there are, what timing, so that's very nice. But with community service learning, we address real-world problems. When I started doing this, I thought, like, we have 30,000 students in our university. If only 10% works on real-life examples, especially the more complex ones, what a difference we could make. So instead of thinking it as a teacher, we take real-life examples. For all the students here in the audience, have you ever worked with real-life examples outside of the university in your program? Anyone? None. Wow. For the teachers, have you tried to do examples from real-life cases? Now then, this is an interesting presentation for you, I think. Okay, so what we do is take these real-life examples. And why do we do it? First of all, I think it's very worthwhile for communities. We address their questions. And in our university, we prefer to work with areas that don't have so much access to the university. So we really hope to increase their livelihood, to make the life, in this case, more sustainable. For the student, there's a nice benefit. It says here academic skills, but I think in the first place, it's way more fun. The students, I think you should move out of this building. Nice for theory, but learn something out of these walls. You can learn a lot. Different skills, and I'll come to that later on with Louis' competencies. Communication skills, working with different people, and that's reality. In your further career, you will also work with all these other people. So it's a big advantage if you have done that already during your program. And as a lecturer, you have to be a little brave, the ones we have here, but it's very nice. It definitely shows up things you have not planned for, so you need to be a little flexible, but it's way more fun. And you learn yourself also quite a lot in this process. I put two things in the middle, reflection and reciprocity, because these are key. You need to reflect as the student and teacher on the whole process, and to make sure that everyone is learning. And on the other side, the reciprocity. It's so important that all of these partners in this exercise benefit. Because it sounds easy probably, but to benefit really the community is a challenge. Most courses only 6 EC, and not only to take knowledge from the community, because that's very interesting for us, but really giving something back that's beneficial for them, that's a challenge. But okay, I will dive in an example. Lorenzo mentioned already the interdisciplinary and transdisciplinary community service learning program. Why I present this one? First of all, you can all join. So students, if you're in master's programs, you can join, or the bachelor coming up. You can join this program for every country. And on the other hand, we really welcome teachers that want to implement this in their own university. So it has 2 parts. The first, I think, is a little less here interesting, but the second, I will dive there more time in, is really interesting. So in the whole process, we go through a whole research process. So in the ICS 1, the first course, we really listen to the community. We train students to listen to the community, to gain their knowledge, to assess their needs and issues. And in the second course, we're gonna address it. The planning is that everyone can participate, so we're working on the edges of the day. And not only Aurora is welcome, also beyond, but that is after Corona a little bit more difficult to register them in the universities, unfortunately. But it's worldwide and hybrid. Now, here I present the cycle. So we start with a co-design of the research together with the communities. We listen to them, we assess their needs really from the local neighborhoods. And of course, some problems are very hard to address. And some problems work with sustainability, the focus of today, but we also have health problems. We have all, so different groups of students from different disciplines work together, because that's very exciting here, on these issues. So as a student, you work with social sciences, literature, physics, whatever. The whole groups are really mixed in discipline, as well as from different countries. And I think that makes it very special. And in the second course, we are going to address it and present it back to the community. So a little bit more about our course 1. So it's a 3 EC course in November and December. And we start this course by listening to the students as well. And we ask for we say, for example, the topic sustainability. We ask for every student take an article which you think is very good from your own discipline to the course. And we let them discuss that. And they think, oh, that's interesting, nice view, different perspectives. And then in the end we ask, okay, what do you think was the best paper that you all brought to the table? And unanimously they say their own. So, and then we start a discussion. Why is yours better than the others? And then you get the economics say, yeah, mine has a very high end, hundreds of people. So the social sciences is nice that you do interviews, but it's only 5 or 8 or 10. So low quality. And this discussion takes place, and then it's very interesting to really start respecting each other's knowledge, because also within our own fields we differ quite a lot. And we also have people from literature, for example, that someone brought once a poem. And that's, so we really, it's opening up their eyes. We also prepare them to talk, starting from here, to community. We move outside of the building of the university, as I told you. So the meetings we have are in the local libraries. So as you can see here, we work here in the local libraries. Here, this is low threshold, because the university has a high threshold. I still say we are not reaching out to everyone, because not everyone is going to the local libraries, but it is at least better than the university. Then we come to ICSL2, and for the students, you can follow them separately. So you can also only join the ICSL2 course. This course runs a little longer. That runs from February to June, and it's parallel to whatever program you're in. And ideally, we work with your graduation projects. Most students have a graduation project. The aim is to have these graduation projects also focusing on the same topic, but then in your own discipline. And within this course, we really integrate all the disciplines together and the different countries. So you really are in mixed teams. And together you write an interdisciplinary report on this complex issue. And we have every year at least sustainability issues. Now this is the cohort of this year. So in total, we have 36 students from our university, from 22 different master programs. And we have 11 Aurora students, coming from 4 universities within Aurora, and from 9 different master programs. So you can imagine that this is a very interdisciplinary course. Now, how does it look like? We have a sustainability question. One of the is a food question, sustainability food systems. And we have, as you can see, students from different programs, from different universities, and they all have their own supervisors for the graduation projects. They're outside. And the students work together on this interdisciplinary report together. And at a certain point of time, we include also the supervisors from all these different countries to join in reflection meetings. So some pictures, we work again with the community, again in the local libraries. And at the end of this process, we communicate definitely back with the communities again within these libraries, but it can also be in the field. So one 1 week we have this called Science Festival, in which in every local library we distribute, the students do that, communicate the results back to the community. And on one way we have a big event in the central library, which is way large. We also ask a lot of different universities, higher vocational trainings. So we also spread the message of how we do it. And that's international. And I have a video after this where you can see, yeah, let's see whether this works. This is an expression of 2 years ago. And you can also see that also Aurora partners are there.
To be more aware of our food, to handle it in a better way.
Today we have this big event in which the students present their end results of their research they've conducted.
And one of the most interesting themes of co-creation is the engagement, where all the citizens, the political actors, the administrations can be involved together with the students and the experts from the universities.
My university is inside Aurora Network. We collaborate with community service, learning projects, engagement projects with community, and we also look for new ways to develop more social impact.
With Aurora, we have the chance to address societal challenges in our research and our lectures, and this is a great chance for our service learning development.
This is our favorite to carry on. The song here is time for 5 minutes.
Wat ik zonde vind, bijna 50 jaar terug heb ik specifiek gekozen voor Noord vanwege het groen.
The Aurora Alliance, we offer a course which is called Interdisciplinary and International Community Service Learning. So we have students from all of the countries collaborating together, working on complex problems of society, which are boundary crossing, not only disciplinary but also the national boundaries.
I got a nice offer to enjoy 5 months long course, online course. The topic was like creating sources of mental strength. So, and thanks to Aurora, I got like financial support to enjoy this conference and also face-to-face classes.
Nog 30 seconden. Wie stelt hier wel eens vragen?
There is a lot of things under the label here, but not how much energy it used to produce these things.
Let's talk about citizenship as well. So consumption doesn't happen in isolation. It happens together with all this complex network of people, processes that goes from production to processing, community building.
Okay, now you get an impression of this final festival. We don't only do that, we also present all the reports that students made on a platform that's called Open Science. And this is available for communities and teachers, researchers as well. And the idea of Open Science Amsterdam is that other researchers take up the further research. We do the same, also within our education. Not only in this course, but we also try to have other courses taking up the further questions. We'll just briefly go to the Global South, but as I indicated earlier, and it's also indicated by Veronica, these questions don't stop at the borders. So we also need to include communities countries from the global south. And that's what we also do in our work package. We collaborate with various countries in Africa, also especially on food. So we have living labs in these countries, and we try to collaborate as much as possible with these living labs. If you would like to know more about it, then please come to me later on, because I think my time is running out right now. And I would like to make this, because what we learn is different competencies within CSL. Like I told you before, the communication skills with different communities, critical reflection, there's a lot of teamwork here. As a teacher, you need to think about this, how you put it in a process, how to make this part of your curricula. And then the LUI competencies are a very nice framework to do that. As well, if you would like to assess these competencies, then the LUI's framework also gives tools to make this assessment. So we're very happy to have in our work package also the LUI competencies, which will be used, are used in CSL. And I would like to invite you on the 18th of June, the students of last year have a similar seminar as this year. That's on the 19th. But on the 18th, we have quite an international cohort that wants to be there on the 19th. And we invited everyone to join on the 18th to have an international learning lab to share experiences. So we have people from both Aurora, Global North and Global South, discuss issues on sustainability and community service learning. So I have the QR code, and again, if you like to join, it's online and live, so you can participate. And if you have any further questions, I'm happy to answer.
Yeah, thanks for the presentation, and maybe I can already ask a short question. Will there be another opportunity, like I think this blended intensive program where Aurora students could participate in your project or in one of the courses?
Yeah, you can join as the students every year. So you can join ICSL 1 and 2. The first one is November, December, it's 3AC, and it runs parallel to your programs. So what every program you're in, you can follow it, you get credits for it. And we have this, as you can see, with various universities. So for most, it's either extracurricular, but some have also asked the exam boards for permission to put these courses in the optional program or free space you have. And February to June next year, you can also join the ICSL course number 2.
Yeah, I think that's, of course, important information for the students. And now I'm looking to the audience for questions. Are there any? Doesn't seem to be the case, so everything is clear. I think it's very nice that you offer this also for all the Aurora students. And thanks for your presentation.
Thank you.
So for our next presentation, we have 2 presenters from Federico II in Napoli. We have, it's not here? It's here. I'll just introduce you first, and then I will try to fix that. We have Ramon Rispoli and Benedetta Toledo. Ramon is associate professor, I think, for architecture. And Benedetta is PhD student, and they are both together will now present their work, which comes from the Aurora Work Package 3, with a nice example, which I hope is also something we can learn from and maybe use in other universities or with other case studies, cases. Okay, so I just have to fix the presentation to the other screen. I'll give you the microphone already.
Okay, can you hear me? Good. Thank you all for being here. Thank you, Lorenzo, for inviting us. First, as a premise, it seems like even more evident to me that we should join forces, like telling from the 2 previous presentations. Just also like yet another brief introduction. I'm also co-leading Work Package 3, which is also better known as the Seismic Work Package now. This is a course that I've been running together with my colleague Adam Marvidsson in Napoli since December 2021. It was actually the first seismic course within Task Team 3.1. And we call it the hackathon, but in fact it's just like a 5-day intensive week, intensive workshop. Benedetta was first involved as a student, and then she became like a co-organizer, an outright co-organizer of the event and coordinator. And as far as the topic is concerned, just, you know, like we always think that food is a kind of like lens, is a sort of kaleidoscope through which we can look at the world and from very different perspectives, like political, geopolitical perspectives, socioeconomic perspectives, health-related issues, and so on, ecological, of course. In the context of the Anthropocene, so the title is pretty evident in this, with all the issues that are related to the Anthropocene, climate change, species extinction, biodiversity loss, and we think that the current agribusiness is greatly contributing to these issues. So the question is, how do we envision a way to redesign our food system in a way that is both socially equitable and also ecologically sustainable? As for the format, as I said, is a 5 days intensive workshop in Napoli. We also ran it as a BIP, as a blended intensive program last year. So we had 2 online classes that served as a kind of theoretical background. We've had invited speakers, such as from the academic sector, such as Laurence, that is joining us today from Paris, but also other kind of entities like small enterprises, associations that are somehow active in the field of food production, distribution, or processing in the Napolitan area. We also included field trips to meet local food producers and local chefs, of course. As for the strategies, we asked students to come up with innovative projects that could include a wide range of solutions, you see here, like waste management and waste reduction strategies based on circular economy, composting, upcycling, recycling, ways to shorten the food chain, physical spaces, but also digital spaces that are able to connect directly producers and consumers, but also sense-making strategies, ranging from storytelling initiatives to social media campaigns and events that are either promoting traditional food production techniques or food products in general. One important thing, replicability, that we replicated this in Ecuador. This is very much to pick up on what you said before, thanks to my ongoing collaboration with 2 institutions in Ecuador, which are Universidad de Cuenca and University UTEC Quito. Of course, with a stronger focus on food security in vulnerable territories in the global south. And I think this is a very important thing because like this is one of those initiatives that were born in the context of Aurora, but kind of like went beyond Aurora itself, expanding the network of collaboration even in non-European countries. And there are also dialogues underway to join forces with Task Team 4.3, South-South Triangle Cooperation that was just mentioned before. As for the design challenge, okay, this is just the program of one like last year workshop in which we have like this invited lectures, but and like on hands-on workshops, and these are some pictures of the events. Like I think these are all pictures of last year. So we met a local chef as well, no, 2 local chefs as well. This is just to give you an idea of the design challenge. I don't have enough time to delve into it properly, but I would just like to highlight the fact that on the one hand, we acknowledge the emergence of new phenomena in the food economy, such as the so-called neo-rurals that are kind of promoting innovative conception of entrepreneurship as far as the food chain is concerned, digital technologies that are empowering food production and distribution in new ways. And on the other hand, we are also strongly aware of the relationship, like traditional relationship between food and local communities and identities. So traditional food products, production techniques, deeply rooted in their territories. And so just to, the participant to this hackathon will co-create design proposals for the food economy of the Napolitan region, and special attention will be given to those strategies capable of strengthening the connection between the city and the countryside. The proposal should be based as much as possible on principles such as ecological sustainability, food sovereignty, promotion of rural territories and communities, and socioeconomic equity. And of course, they should also be economically viable and self-sustainable. As far as the concrete solution that we include, I already mentioned that, but as far as the participation of the Aurora students is concerned, I want just to highlight two things. The first is that we have been growing in terms of the number of the Aurora partners and institutions involved. At the beginning, we were only collaborating with CBS and University of Iceland. And then last year, we also had participants from Paris, from Innsbruck, and from Amsterdam. And the second thing, which is the second slide, okay. The second thing is that the sheer diversity of the students' backgrounds. So this also amounts to the issue of transdisciplinarity, which is crucial for us. So we always have our master students from my Master in Design for the Built Environment, so architecture and design student, but also we have students from business, we have students from social sciences, environmental engineering, marketing, data science, psychology, and so on. And Benedetta will elaborate on this later on. One more thing that to say, and then I will just give the word to Benedetta. Our students participate to the Seismic Awards with a project presented in our hackathon. 4 projects were nominated in the last 2 years, and one of them was awarded with an honorable mention in 2023.
Okay, so here you can see like some pictures of the past years, a student visiting a local meal, student learning how to cook Italian pasta, preparing cook Italian pasta with local chefs. So we made a lot of grounded experience that it's kind of the nicer part of the workshop, I would say. And I think that the most interesting aspect of the hackathon, as Ramon was highlighting, is the transdisciplinarity, because we bring together students from different nationalities, different backgrounds, and the collaboration between aspiring designers, sociologists, economists makes the outcomes particularly compelling, as the proposed challenge are tackled from a wide variety of perspectives, and all within a short amount of time, a very short amount of time. And this dynamic not only leads to innovative results, but also offers continuous opportunities for reflection. And since the students are the engine of the overall hackathon, I will say, we would like to make them as well protagonists of this presentation and to show you some of the outcomes of last year's. So the first one, Buoni Comuni, is inspired by many already existing practices like La Louve Food Coop here in Paris, and it's trying to build a kind of non-monetary economy and a fair food chain with accessible food for everyone, with a solidaric and participatory community supermarket. Pacco da Giù is delivering to urban citizens food boxes with fresh products from local producers. Maiko is a platform to promote unknown local producers and connect them with the urban citizens. Sea Trip is promoting ecotourism food-related practices, and Fresh and Fork and Meal to Meal are trying to shorten the food chain through farmer to consumer to distribution. So they're trying to cut the middleman. More in detail, Pacco da Giù means like pack from the bottom. This is a very Italian experience. Like many students go to study to the north from the south, and they cannot find food and local products from the south, or they can find it but not as cheap as you are used to find it locally. So it's a very like family thing, I would say. Families are sending packs from the bottom to students that are studying in the north. And these students were very inspired by these Italian practices, and I think it was super nice. And so basically they are trying to replicate this initiative, trying to connect the local producers from the inner lands around Naples and the citizens in Naples. Fresh and Fork, I was mentioning it before, they're trying to shorten the food chain through farmer to consumer distribution, building a local and global food delivery system. And yeah, they also design sense-making strategies for the promotion of local and global food recipes, collective events, initiative and campaigns related to food, also as a vehicle of cultural integration, community building, cooperation. This was in the past years. And they also try to address all the challenges in a systemic way. So they are trying to consider the socio-techno-natural entanglements of all their design proposal and thinking about who is going to use the service, how they're generating the revenue, how their project can address societal challenges, how it will impact on our planet. And they're also focusing on food waste in general, developing solutions for waste reduction based on circularity like composting, recycling, upcycling, still framing the issue in a systemic way. So these are some of the feedbacks of the students of the past years. I also would like to highlight them because you can kind of get an idea. Of course, this presentation is also a way to invite all the students that are present to the next hackathon that will take place in October from 20 to 24th this year, and it will be the 5th edition. These are still feedbacks from past years. I also see here some previous students present, so it's nice to see you here, and it's nice to see them around while I'm traveling to all the Aurora universities. It's super nice environment around this hackathon. And yeah, also a nice news, in the next edition of the hackathon, there will be many special guests from UPEC and from CBS, and we are working on a project together that is called Inclusive Nature in Higher Education and Research, Fostering Regenerative Communities. So we are working on this together, and they will be our guests. And yeah, thank you, and hope to see you soon in Naples. We are glad to host you whenever you want.
Yeah, thank you.
Of course, if you have any question.
Yeah. Thank you very much. So as I gathered, there will also be a 5th edition, so it must be quite successful. It's probably still growing a bit. So again, can students still sign up for this? Maybe a good question. For the 5th edition, because we have many students here.
We will open the application in July, early July,
okay.
usually.
So in July, students can think about if they would like to join the hackathon or the event in Napoli. Yes. Very nice. So are there any questions from the audience? Yes, I'll hand you the microphone.
Hello, I would like to ask, how was that for you, Benedetta, the process for the transformation from student to being the part of the leadership of the course? How was that for you?
Yeah, I think that we should listen more and more feedbacks of students, and I think that this was the best process ever, I would say, because seeing the hackathon as a student, I was like aware of its potentialities and limits, and I think that we can kind of agree. I don't know, it's like strange to say it by myself, but we can kind of agree on the fact that there was a big improvement, you know, when we started to do it together. Because okay. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because, yeah, it's a big shift of perspective, but I think, yeah, it's super nice because I'm still super young and I'm still like very engaging with students, so it's, yeah. Thank you so much.
Can even not student join? I want to join.
Okay. Yeah, you're invited. Deal.
Okay, more questions? Not at the moment. So thank you very much. Sounds like a great program. For the start of our second part of the summit, I'm very happy to introduce you Professor Maurizio Sellura. We invited him because he's one of the coordinators of the network of the Italian universities for sustainability. As I told you before, the second part of the morning will be about what networks, how networks can help us in advancing sustainability. Of course, because Aurora is also a network of universities. And with the Italian network, so the national network of Italy, it's of course very big, has a lot of universities. Maurizio will talk to us about that. I think we can see if there are some examples that can also be applied within Aurora. And of course, we can also then later discuss what the actions or what the goals of universities and their networks, their corporations should be to advance sustainability. So Maurizio, thank you very much for coming. Also to introduce him a bit more, Maurizio is from the University of Palermo, where he's a professor for building physics and energy systems, and also the director of sustainability at the University of Palermo. So he has, of course, quite some experience in sustainability areas, but today we specifically invited him to talk about the Italian network of universities for sustainability. Of course, afterwards, we will be joined by other experts, which will then I introduce for a panel discussion. But first, of course, I hand the floor to Maurizio. Thanks again for joining us from Italy, and the floor is yours.
Okay. Thank you very much for the kind invitation. I'm particularly glad to be here today. Thank you, Lorenzo. Thank you, Pauline, for assisting me during this quite complex travel. And thank you to all persons that deserve attention to my speaking. I will discuss about the network of Italian University for the Sustainable Development. It was a long journey, starting more than 10 years ago. Initially, it was a small group of universities, mainly concentrated in the northern part of Italy. But after, there were an important evolution thanks to the involvement of rectors of the Italian universities, with an agreement between rectors and the network of university, with the main aim to develop some common practice, ideas, standards, norms, protocols, and sharing experience for disseminating sustainability within the context of universities, but also for increasing awareness of students and more in general of people of the university communities. There are some important steps. First of all, the first assembly in 2015, different presidents, the initial presidents the initial president was a person from Ca' Foscari University, the second one from Polytechnic of Torino. Actually, the president is from Brescia University. And here there is a sort of a map of many experience development within these 10 years. But just for giving an initial idea, why is important this network? I want to start with this aspect that I consider of paramount importance, the agreement signed in New York, the Pact for Future. The idea is to involve young generation in the activities within universities and outside universities for improving the involvement of young people in managing the sustainability and with an active role, the path for future. Recent survey of the Eurobarometer showed how the awareness of young generation in the field of sustainability is extremely high, uncomparable with the past. But on the other hand, the frustration, the difficulty for these young people to understand which will be the most effective way for assuring sustainable path is another aspect. It's clear that universities have to play a very important role in assuring the involvement of the young generation. And the Declaration on Future Generation, which introduced concrete measures to ensure that the needs of young people are taken into account in decision-making processes, is very important. And in the meantime, the prospect of increasing the youth involvement in global governance. Actually, this is one of the main aims of the Italian network. Why? Because universities, as you surely know, can play two important roles. Could represent an agent of changing and a subject of changing. Why? Because if we look how the university can do in the field of sustainable development goals and how the sustainable development goals help universities along 5 principles: knowledge, learning, demonstration, impact, collaboration, we can show synergies and potential network between these activities because some aspects create increased demand for sustainable development goals education, provide a comprehensive and global accepted definition of responsible universities, and so on. And on the other hand, provide knowledge, breaking silos to young generation, increasing the concept of interdisciplinarity. Often in the academia, many persons discuss about interdisciplinarity, but in fact, it's very difficult to break silos between different disciplines. It's a very huge challenge, and for doing this kind of approach is very, very important. But also the demonstration, because demonstrate how to support, adopt, implement sustainable development goals in governance, operation, and culture is very important. And the role of sustainable development goal inside the universities, other topic that is extremely discussed, probably too much, but with a few numbers of real experience. At the end of my presentation, I will show the Center for Sustainability and Ecological Transition of the University of Palermo, where the scientific council, members of the scientific councils are representative of different sustainable development goals. Inside the center, we have a philosopher, engineer, physicist, sociologist, psychologist, and so on. Different disciplines that work together, establishing a focus group of different experience. This is the role of the university, and in the field of research, education, operation, governance, and external leadership is a complex job because using the words of Jeffrey Sachs, we can harness the global network of universities, all universities, to serve as an active network of solutions that support governments, business, and civil society in charting pathway towards the successful achievement of sustainable development. As surely you know, it's a very difficult period, particularly in USA. There is a huge debate between the new government and some universities. The freedom of the university, the freedom of speaking, the freedom of acting in the field of sustainable development is very, very important. Because some declaration about drill is a clear opposition of the need of fighting the climate change, because we have to reduce the carbon footprint and more in general the environmental impacts due to the use of the fossil fuel. For doing this, we have to develop new renewable energy technologies, and particularly we have to exploit and disseminate renewable energy technologies. There is a paradox between some way of saying and some behavior and the needs that the urgent needs to cope with the climate change. And on this sense, the university play a very important role. And the first step was the Rector's Pact, the Sustainability Manifesto that we established in 2019. And these are the main points of this manifesto. It's clear the intention to establishing common activities in the field of sustainable development, the adoption of sustainable development with the explicit mention of 2030 agenda, to enhance, to encourage all initiatives for promoting environmental, social, and intergenerational justice, according to the Article 3, 9, and 41, particularly 9 and 41 are recently new and take into account the need of a young generation to live in this planet with the same opportunity of the past, and the need to take into account of the health of the planet in a circular way, according to the possibility to preserve the health of everyone combined with the health of the planet. In the pact, there are a clear commitment to the decarbonization of university campuses and cities, the commitment to establish an integrated university structure dedicated to sustainability. Often we discuss about sustainability, but there are some, I do say, alone initiatives. Breaking silos meaning also cooperate, establish a network of experience inside the single university and within different universities. The enhancement of university education and education for sustainable development. There are many experiences in Italy. I would like to mention the so-called Lecture Zero. Lecture Zero is the minimum content of acknowledgement about the sustainability developed by the alliance between ASVIS, Alliance for Sustainable Development in Italy, and the RUS. Is a framework of information and educational activities for assuring to every member of the university communities an adequate acknowledgement for fighting with the challenge of the sustainability. The point 6 is to fight discrimination and economic, social, and territorial inequalities. The 7, the promotion of knowledge dissemination in society, inspired by the principles of open science, including through educational experimentation labs and living labs. And last but not least, is a very actual topic in Italy, a mandatory support for student housing, accessibility, and right to education. As you well know, is a quite composite manifesto, but we believe that is very effective for developing a very huge amount of activities. Coming to the map of the universities, you can see actually, this is all this figure. Now we are more than 90, located in different parts of Italy. Naples is part of the RUS. And I would like to thank Anna Maria Zaccaria that she invited me at this event by the involvement of Lorenzo and Susanna. And in Sicily we have also 3 different universities, but probably the most important things are the working groups on different topics. Working groups with the involvement of people of different universities for establishing common protocols, rules, standard, exchange experiences, and so on. In this case, climate change, food, education, energy, university for industry, inclusion, social justice, mobility, waste, and so on. Which is the size of the university that belong to the RUS? You can see the evolution from 2017 till 2023. Originally, the bigger universities are the component of bigger universities that were parts of the RUS was bigger. Recently, we have a huge number of small universities that asked for being part of the network, and it is a good news. And we have the possibility to disseminate the common experience in different contexts. And regarding the geographical location of the universities, now there is a balanced component of all parts of the country. Originally, as I told you before, we had just 5 universities from the northern of Italy. Now there is a balance between south, center, and north of Italy. Other question, to disseminate reference to sustainability in the university statute. Appears the sustainability word in the university statute of the university. Now we can see the evolution. We start with, in 2019, only 21 universities had the sustainability concept inside the official document, official statute of the university. We reached a couple of years ago the number of 40, and regarding the university strategic plan, as you can see, we start with 44 instead of 4. Now the majority of the university has the strategic plan in the field of sustainability, and is a very remarkable result thanks to the RU's work. What about the sustainable quantitative targets? I look at the words of Susanna. It's important to increase quantitative targets. It's clear that many qualitative aspects are relevant. We discussed it yesterday in our common table about the needs to accept the evolution of technologies, increasing the social awareness and the culture and many other aspects. But on the other hand, we need measurable targets for evaluating the evolution in the field of the sustainability. Now, the majority of universities have sustainable targets, and this is a very important result. And also regarding the reporting on sustainability-related activities, at the moment, if you sum planned and effective, you can see that the majority has the sustainability report. When we started, we were 0 10 years ago, and it shows the importance of the network and exchanging opportunity and idea. In about 80% of cases, the sustainability delegate is also the network University for Sustainability delegate. They are the same person. And in all universities, in fact, we have, or in the majority, we had the sustainability delegate. With different features. These are some examples. Delegate for sustainability policies, delegate only for environmental sustainability, delegate for environmental sustainability and social responsibility, delegate for equal opportunities, inclusion and welfare, RUS advisor. There is a composite scenario of experience, but in general, we started 10 years ago with the absence of a delegate. Now every university has a delegate in this field. Oh, sorry. Other crucial point, the possibility to have a dedicated structure for discussing and operating in the field of the sustainability. Look that now the majority has an established structure, established framework, established a group of established persons involved in the sustainability sector, the majority in 2023. How many units in place? Look at the evolution and the resources that the university decide to employ in the field of the sustainability is a good work too. And if we look about factors that they have triggered the implementation of action for sustainable development, you can see some parameters, some variables able to increase. I would like to point out the presence of a delegate dedicated to the topic of sustainability, because there is a huge attention to media in the recent years, but the possibility to have a dedicated person is of paramount importance for pushing, for increasing the involvement in the field of sustainability. What barriers or obstacles have you encountered in implementing sustainable development action at your universities? Difficulty in involving external stakeholders. It's quite surprising, but is one of the key challenges that we have to cope. As you can see, the lack of knowledge on sustainability issues among faculty members or the lack of knowledge on sustainability issues among administrative and technical staff are less relevant than the past. Imply that awareness increase, but the relationship with the territory has to be strengthened by many, many activities. These are some role of social media and dissemination. I would like to point out the social network. Oh, sorry. Coming to another innovation due to the Italian rules is the idea to establish regional rules network. Now we had the regional rules in Abruzzo, Campania, Lombardia, Piedmont, Veneto, Apulia, Sicily, Tuscany, and Emilia-Romagna. The idea is to take into account the peculiarities of different regions, establishing a network there for facilitating dialogues and cooperation with the local and regional governments on this field. They are a very effective way of increasing the relationship with the stakeholder. Personally, actually, I'm also president of the Sicilian network, and is, how to say, reduce the distance from the general network and increase the cooperation. Some other activities, the presence at COP28, the past president Patrizia Lombardi, and so on, just for giving the complexity of the relationship, and the amount is not, to say, completely represented, but this is an idea of many important cooperation from a non-governmental organization to us with Rai Radio 2, Millumio di Meno, and many others, many partners. A nice exercise that we developed last year was to ask to ChatGPT, but what impacts as the rules network had over its 10 years of activity? Just for, it was, to say, a joke, an idea, but the answers were very effective, as you can see. Promoting sustainability in universities, with a key role in advancing sustainability policies within Italian universities, as we showed in the last graphs, in the last figures. Increase the education and research in the field of sustainability, because universities within the network have expanded their educational offerings related to sustainability, with many different introduction courses, masters, doctoral studies, and so on. But the rules supported the development of interdisciplinary research projects, and it is very important. The principle of equal footprint every discipline, every idea, every group of scientists has to play the same role with the same footprint. And the collaboration sharing of best practice, particularly by the institution of the working groups, because the network has fostered cooperation among universities, both nationally and international, through the exchange of the best practice. Actually, member universities have shared experience on enhancing energy efficiency, promoting social inclusion, and so on. Increase the awareness, thanks to the huge amount of events, dissemination of ideas developed along the past 10 years. The other aspect important pointed out by Susanna that I would like to reinforce, the need to measure and monitoring impacts, and the network has introduced tools and methodologies for assessing the environmental impacts of universities, like a protocol for measuring the carbon footprint, a protocol for measuring the energy performances, and many other aspects. Supporting the preparation of sustainability reports, there is also a format for developing the sustainability report, the common format, and the development of strategies for reducing institutional ecological footprints. And last but not least, the relationship with the stakeholders, the influence on public policies, because through the network, universities will become strategic reference points for the development of local and national strategies aimed at achieving the Sustainable Development Goals, better to reach the targets of Sustainable Development Goals. Last year, the network and student engagement, that now is crucial. During the last 2 years, the role of RUS in the field of engagement of young generation of students is enforced more and more with the promotion of active involvement of students in sustainability initiative. And last but not least, the possibility to develop real interdisciplinary and transdisciplinary sustainability projects. This is a resume of ChatGPT about the impact of the rules, the impact of the Italian University Network of Sustainable Development over the past 10 years has been important in promoting a culture of sustainability within Italian university, influencing education, research, and academic governance. A couple of slides about the experience of the Center for Sustainability and the Ecological Transition of the University of Palermo. These are the 6 keywords that we apply during our work. An horizontal approach. Sustainability is affair of every activity. The basin of the Mediterranean as a reference for our activity. The need of cooperation. The need of interdisciplinarity, the sustainability strategies for supporting the achievement of the Sustainable Development Goals, and the complexity, because the very huge challenge, in our opinion, is to manage the complexity. Because it is essential to identify the interaction between the Sustainable Development Goals in order to unlock their full potential at all scale and to ensure that progress made in some areas is not made in expense of others. It's very important to avoid to move the environmental impact or the social impact from one step to another, from one goal to another, along the spatial and temporal evolution. A life cycle thinking approach is very important. And the only way to cope with this complexity is to understand the connection between different goals. The objective is to identify multiple targets and synergies between different SDGs. Last but not least, our center is strongly involved in the application of the principle of the do not significant harm. I was surprised about the application of this principle within the National Recovery Resilience Plan of many different countries. In fact, there is a checklist and you have to tick. Yes, no, it's clear that it's a foolish thing because understand the interrelationship between mitigation of climate change, adaptation of climate change, defend the biodiversity, increase the circularity and so on is a very complex job. We have to develop a new tool, new model. And I believe that university have to play a key role in doing this. We are developing some strategies and research, but it's clear that cooperation and exchange of common research will play a paramount role for disseminating an effective way of applying the principle of the do not significant harm. Thank you for your attention. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you very much, Maurizio. I found it quite interesting what you showed on how many of the universities in the network have, I don't know, dedicated persons on sustainability and how it progressed over the years. I think that's also quite interesting because you have so many partners. No? In Aurora, we are 9 universities, and also we, as a network, started, of course, or since we focused on that within the European Union funded part, it was also a little bit later. Before we take questions now, I would also like our other 2 panelists to join us now on the stage. We are missing a chair, but I'm gonna get that because that's mine, yeah. Maybe you can take a seat on one of those. I'm gonna sit here. Yeah, one more chair, please. So then, no, that's mine. You can take one of those. Okay, yeah, if you have a seat. Yeah, please, and then Maurizio there. So, of course, Maurizio has already been introduced, but we are now joined by 2 other experts, which I would like to introduce. Next to me is Hafdís Hanna Egisdóttir from the University of Iceland, where she's the director of the Sustainability Institute. She has a long experience regarding sustainability, also outside of Iceland. So she's like a quite established expert. And for my introductory question, I would like to ask you about your experience in working with networks regarding sustainability. So, I mean, could be in the academic space, but maybe also with partners outside of academia. So what are your experience and what would you like to add?
Yes, thank you very much. Yes, both at the University of Iceland, we are working with networks, you know, Aurora, of course, like here, and also some other networks, like the University Social Responsibility Network. We are a part of that one. And we are actually also, I just realized that we are a part of the STSN network. Just recently realized that. So we actually have a meeting in 2 weeks' time about to be more active in that network. But my experience in general about the importance of networks, if it is in universities or in institutions, organizations, is extremely important. I think that working with networks or coalitions or just working together is very important to kind of widen our perspectives. Like if we're working on sustainability, to work with people from other disciplines, then we are, I'm a biologist by training, plant ecologist, but just, and for 10 years, over 10 years, I was the director of the United Nations University Land Restoration Training Program. We are working with people from Sub-Saharan Africa, with specialists from Sub-Saharan Africa and Central Asia, and just working with people from different cultures, different disciplines. It's so important to kind of widen our perspectives and also to break down the barriers between cultures and religions and sectors, because then we learn so much from each other, and we both from the best practices, but also from the challenges that we are facing. And what I've also learned throughout my career is that that we have much more in common than what we have much more in common than we think, even with people from from other parts of the planet, and that we have extremely much to share among each other. So yeah, let's start with that one.
Yeah, thank you. And then also joining us at the panel is Lolita. You already know her, I think, from yesterday, or those of you who were here yesterday. She's in high demand during this Aurora Annual Conference, but she's professor for social psychology here at UPEC. And also she's vice president for social responsibility. That's something I find quite interesting, that you have vice president for sustainability, but then another one for the social responsibility part. And I know that you're working with a lot with communities, with different stakeholders. And yeah, that's what I would like to ask you about. So what is your experience with that? Also, maybe especially with communities and stakeholders outside academia. Also, Sam found that interesting what Maurizio said, that this has been seen as a challenge in their survey, or as actually one of the biggest challenges.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, and I see that Mauricio said that it was the main obstacle. The worst thing is to work with, or difficulties to involve the external stakeholders. So maybe starting with the minister, because in France I have the opportunity to see that the government is quite pressing or helping the universities, because we have first starting next year a mandatory course on sustainability for every bachelor student, and it was something that the ministry demand. Another thing is that the minister support a certification label for university, where we have to pay attention to sustainability and social responsibility. This is why we have this social responsibility so strong in UPEC. So the minister first helps universities doing things towards sustainability with those things, and asking, I think the objective is that 75% of universities or educational institution will have this certification levels within the next year. So this is a strong advice from the minister to get this certification level. And so this is a way to make everyone work on this topic and act on this topic. Other stakeholders, I think, would be external one, would be the territories, so actors of the territories. And we have something in UPEC, we have another certification level, which is science with and for society, which help us going outside the university, sharing our research results, sharing activities with other stakeholders, and especially museum. For example, we have an exhibition right now with a museum nearby. So it is something that helps as well, like going outside university and trying to create links. We have also worked with associations on specific topics. Right now outside we have a bike repairment workshop, so you can see that in front of the restaurant, and we have that several times during the year. And maybe to give input on what you said, Maurizio, I think what could be difficult with external stakeholders, and in my experience, what is easier is to meet people, and I mean individuals, because the problem, I think, when we have to work with people, external stakeholders, is that you have to know who
contacting. The problem is that if you have a main generic mail or no one to contact, it's more difficult. So in our experience, what is easier is to meet people and having one individual you can talk to. And then this is a way to enter and create collaboration, but just trying to contact a city, a department in a service, with a generic email, for example, or not knowing anyone within the structure or the institution is very difficult. So this is meeting people that helps.
Yeah, so that's a good way then that we are meeting here in Paris with the Aurora community. I also have always the feeling that this really helps in starting cooperation. But maybe also connected to that and also connected to what Maurizio said earlier, and that's also something I always felt was the case, that we are talking about interdisciplinarity quite a lot. We have been doing that also for a very long time. It sounds all nice, but then if you really look at it in practice, it's also my view that it often doesn't really happen. And it's also my experience that it's sometimes easier, for example, to cooperate with someone, like say I'm environmental scientist, and it's sometimes for me easier to cooperate with, for example, someone from social sciences from another university than from my own university. So that's also something I think maybe networks could help with. But I would maybe ask again towards Maurizio about your experience with interdisciplinarity. How can you foster it, or how can you bring people together so that interdisciplinary projects, research, cooperations can happen, and how can maybe also a network help with that?
Who started? Me? It's a very complex challenge. I would like to point out before to start. I was enriched and I'm enriched about this experience that we developed with the center. Because our center, the component of the scientific council are representative for every different sustainable development goals. And we have an expert in demography, another one on food, another one on health, on education, on inequalities, and so on. In fact, the scientific council represents a focus group with features very, very different, and within to develop a common language where the same words has the same meaning was a challenge, and it is a challenge. And this lab, this focus group, for some experience, a sort of living labs, helped us in developing effective way of applying the transdisciplinarity and the interdisciplinarity. With another crucial point, the equal footprint. Because sometimes I'm an engineer, I think, but the technology play a very important role. Another one, environmental humanities, but without our idea is impossible. The technology is connected to the reality. I could show many different examples where every component of the group believe that his contribution is of paramount importance, more important than others. This is the error. The equal footprint, the ability and the need to work together is very important, because the ecological transition is not an affair of engineers, social scientists, psychologists, and so on. The ecological transition is a affair for the humankind. And we have to start from the best place that we have, that in my opinion is the university community, for experimenting this kind of experience and disseminate this kind of experience, because the involvement with the stakeholder that Lolita mentioned before is very, very complex. We established a forum of stakeholders. Every year we organize a meeting on different topic. This year was on small, medium enterprises, another big challenge, because the percentage of small, medium enterprises in Italy is about 90% of the total firms. Without small, medium enterprises, we cannot reach sustainable path. We have to take this clear in mind. But as we know, insufficient skill, the difficulties to find funds, and many other aspects, obstacles, the path of sustainable small, medium enterprises towards the sustainability. We have to help them. When? How? Where? The challenge is big, but as I told you yesterday, using the words of Gutierrez, we have not a plan B. We have only one planet, and we have to solve problems now.
Do you want to add something, or?
Yes, what comes into my mind is about interdisciplinarity and transdisciplinarity, why it is important. It is crucial. We have to work across sectors, and also with the businesses, with the society, and across disciplines within universities, for example, because the challenges that we are faced today on this planet, they are not on a single discipline. We are working with we have climate change, we have biodiversity loss, we have the ecosystems collapsing, we have social inequality, we have conflicts and wars, and we have to work across sectors. We have to work together to solve, to tackle these challenges and to solve these challenges, and that cannot be done by one single discipline. So we have to work together, and we have to find ways to do it across nations, across disciplines and cultures. So I think that's the only way. And I think also, with universities and institutes, sometimes the challenge is that within the institutes of the universities, that there are some walls that we need to break down to work together, because sometimes the structures are not supporting it. So then we just have to, do that together, find ways to work better together. And what I've also seen is, for example, we at the Sustainability Institute, we have been a part of a project called Arcade, which is Arctic Academy for Social and Environmental Leadership. And it's a graduate program for students from different universities, University of Iceland, University of the Arctic in Tromsø in Norway, University in Nuuk in Greenland, etc. And we've had, this is from master and PhD students who are come from different disciplines. We have biologists and students from sociology and political science and so on. And they have to work on a group project together and make a policy paper on Arctic challenges. And so they're not only learning about climate change and biodiversity, they are learning about security issues and energy issues and so on. And it's been fascinating to watch them, coming from different countries, from different disciplines, working together, because it has been challenging, because it is easier often to work with your own colleagues who understand not only the language in your country, but also your language of your discipline. But to see, the outcome when it works well, and when we help them, support them, the students in working together, and we prepare them, then we see the magic happens, because then wow, okay, I didn't realize this, in my discipline. So I think this is, the only way forward, that we have to do more of this research and this teaching.
Obviously, I agree with what was said, and especially because we have complex problems, so we have to find complex solutions, and we have to be interdisciplinary to do that. But maybe another thing that I was thinking about, and especially when Mauricio was referring to small companies, for example, is that sometimes also we may not have a common goal, because I think the idea with sustainability is that it's a common goal that humanity should have. But with other partners, sustainability is not the main element, and especially for small companies, for example, when you have to find money, when you have to make people work, and you have responsibilities regarding economical aspect, when you come with your sustainability questions, it may not be the main interest of them. So I think there is, and so it's not on a research point of view, but the idea when you work with partners as well is maybe not to find a common goal, but to find an interest for everyone. So it may be sustainability for us because this is something that we work for, but sometimes we have to find another element of motivation that might not be sustainability for the people we work with, but will anyway go towards sustainability. But I think this is something that we have to think about as well, because, and it could be true within our university. I have the feeling that sometimes when we arrive with our sustainability issues, the other people in the universities, they have things to do, they have their daily work, and sustainability seem to be something that they will have to do on top of everything else. And so this is difficult for them to include those elements. So we have also, I think we have the effort to make sure that there is something at stake for others, that they might understand it, or they might have their own goal, but going towards sustainability without it being something else or on top of everything else that is not included in what they are doing at the moment.
Yeah, those are of course very, very good points. And I think we could discuss on that for a long time, but I think I'm now looking a bit at the audience. So because I'm sure that there are some questions either to the panel or maybe also to what Maurizio showed in his presentations. And I would really like to include you a bit into our discussion. So maybe if there are some questions, or also if you think about questions later, Susanna is so kind to walk around a bit with the microphone. So of course, yeah, please.
Thank you so much, the three of you, for your interesting remarks. I think there are some interesting issues that come up from this panel, I think. And I was also thinking about that before, because we are kind of like prone to use the terms interdisciplinarity and transdisciplinarity as if it was the same thing, but it's actually not. And I think that Maurizio said some very interesting thing about that. I think transdisciplinarity is the term, because when you are transdisciplinary, you are also kind of open to question your own assumption as far as just discipline is concerned. Transdisciplinarity implies humility as well. And as you, Agnes, were saying, we are kind of like confronted with this wicked problems today, like sustainability, like climate change is a wicked problem. And I think it's very interesting to bear in mind that wicked problem is also a term that kind of like, in a certain sense, it was transdisciplinary because he was born in the social sciences in the 60s, and he was also inherited by design issues. We are talking about wicked problems in design studies today. So it's a kind of like big issue. Let's say Timothy Morton will call it an hyper-object, right? That needs to be addressed from various points of view, but it really implies a humble point of view. So how far are we, and to what extent are we capable, and we are open to question our own assumption and to question our own way of defining a problem? That is the true task of transdisciplinarity, I think. And what the three of you have said, I think it goes in very, very much in that direction. So thank you. It was a remark. No, it wasn't a question.
No, but thank you. I think it's quite a good remark. But maybe someone from the panel wants to react on it. No?
Yeah, just to thank you. I think this is a very good remark because, like you say, these wicked problems. We really, the nature of wicked problems are that there is no one solution, and it's difficult to, so there's so many aspects of it. So, and I think that, being, question our own assumptions, like you said, that is so important. And I think maybe that is sometimes difficult, for people to And that needs courage, that needs self-confidence and courage to say, okay, maybe I'm not right. I'm willing to listen, have this open mind to listen carefully. And so that is maybe something that we should also teach our students, and, this deep listening, and that it's okay to be not always right and to change your opinion if you hear something else. I think that is something that, we also should encourage both our co-workers and the students. So thank you.
Yeah, it ties very nicely to the presentation from Marjolein we saw in the morning, where they try, I think, or as I understood, teach more or less exactly that to the students. But Maurizio, please.
Thank you for giving me the platform. Ramon, thank you very much for your remarkable question and important consideration. I agree. I really agree. Regarding our experience, we try to manage. First of all, there is not an answer. It's a very complex problem. The super wicked problems, the wicked and super wicked problems that you mentioned are very, very, very complex to manage. Regarding our experience, we established a group within the center with a huge expertise in the field of system dynamics, and in particular on collaborative platform. And we try to manage this kind of problem with the approach of a collaborative platform, where within the group there are scientists with very, very different expertise, but open to understand each other, because transdisciplinarity is different, I agree with you, and it is important. It's not a new job, because if you look or if you think about the environmental impact assessment, many years ago, in the early 90s, probably before, we discussed about many experts of different disciplines, and the manager of the group that was defined in Italy generalista di interfaccia, that meaning people able to understand, to discuss with every different expert. I believe that generalista di interfaccia, we need to push on the education of this kind of person, but we have to cope with some difficulties within academia for the same problem, equal footprint. No, I'm the best of the best, and so on. We have to solve, first of all, inside our university, this problem, because we have on the same plane with the same opportunities. And after, it's difficult to put this skill, the person with this feature in the work labor, because often also enterprises try to find a very specialized person. The sustainability manager could be an example of person able to cope with the super wicked problems, with the experience in system dynamics, but also acknowledgement about the energy. Why we don't think in the Italian context, but also in Europe context, to think about a new figure, a new skill to experiment, also within different universities. I'm able because I believe in this approach. It's a real approach. We have to experiment this every day.
Maybe I can add something. As a researcher, if I have to ask you a question about how far can we question our question, or can we question our disciplinary or what we are doing, I would say that it's easy for me as a researcher to do that. But in the evaluation of researcher, because I think we have to face also the fact that when you are evaluated as a researcher, when you have to publish your papers, transdisciplinary is very good to answer complex questions. But when you do that, and it's my case because I'm a social psychologist, but working with energy scientists because I work in energy saving, for example, and I have a lot of transdisciplinary research that are very good in terms of impact, social impact. but could be difficult to publish because the papers are not specialized enough in a discipline. And I think it goes with what Mauricio said about in companies, they are looking for specialized people, and being not as specialized as others could be a problem. So I think there is a problem with that as well. Like, you may want to do that, but if you have the best career, it might not be the good way to do it. You may be more specialized. You may control everything. Be sure that you don't ask too many questions. You stay in the mainstream. So, yeah, I think there is this question in a philosophical way, like, are we ready to do that? But also in the context in which we work, I think it's not supported enough, those type of work. And especially with the evaluation of researchers, publication, etc., etc. So we can't do anything about it except saying that over and over, but...
Yeah, I mean, I think you're, of course, touching on an important point, which is also my experience, that it's much harder to publish transdisciplinary, even also sometimes interdisciplinary research, also harder to get funding for it in many cases. But I think there were more questions from the audience. I think here Alessandro has one, and we have one here. I mean, can you... there?
Thank you very much for your presentation and the roundtable. A specific issue, sustainability has costs, huge costs that will be paid back. We know that, and we go for it. For universities, quite difficult to cope with these costs, especially when we think at reduction of carbon footprint. And in the Italian case, it can be even worse because many of our universities have historical buildings that are so complex to be renovated. So the role of institutional players, government, municipalities, is really pivotal. How can we push them in investing more? Maurizio, in his presentation, was also referring to the policy development that RUS does in Italy. But how can we do more on that? I mean, without resources, we can do much, but not enough.
I mean, I guess it's very hard to do something without resources. I hope that there are usually some resources, but I mean, I of course agree with what you said, but maybe you want to answer first.
Thank you very much for the interesting question. Very actual, I would like to say. I believe that I would like to propose an alternative path. We have direct impacts and indirect impacts. Look, for example, at the huge amount of services, materials, and so on that every year we acquired. There is an option, the green public procurement. The possibility to buy them with a very little increase of investment, reducing in a drastically way the carbon footprint of the universities. For doing this, our center prepared and organized a management course devoted to the administrative people of our university for helping them in selecting materials, services, and technologies with reduced or less environmental impacts. If you look at the estimation of this kind of procurement, we could reduce the environmental footprint more and more. Clearly, it's not alternative to put our PV plants on the roof of our building. I know the many difficulties that Federico II and Palermo have to put on the roof of buildings of many, many cycles ago, where the superintendents, I don't know which is the English term, there is a sort of fighting between an office for preserving the historical heritage and the other administrative office, also with, I do say, sharing, I would like to share some point of view, because in some buildings it's really difficult to put PV plants. But we can start from the new buildings, sometimes we have obstacles to respect deadline very stringent, like the National Recovery Resilience Plan. Why we have to finish within 2026? I would like to ask to the European Commission why. Because if we have 4 years more, probably we could build up the asili nido, I don't know the English term, that we miss because we haven't time and we move financial resources from this topic to another. Most of the cases devoted to enterprises, important. But in our cities, we need more social equalities. We need to help poor people. Just for giving an example. Renewable energy technologies now is an effective option for reducing the carbon footprint, but there are other aspects because we are often concentrated on carbon footprint. But what about biodiversity? What about the circular economy? What about water recovery and so on? We have also to enlarge our policy, our point of view in coping with the strategies of sustainability. The question of resources during the last years in Italy was not particularly important because we had and we have till now the National Recovery Resilience Plan. But in a couple of years, we will come back to the past. I'm really afraid about the difficulties that we will find in finding resources. First of all, for, engaging young generation of researchers that I consider of paramount importance for assuring a natural evolution of the scientist field, but also for other things. At the moment, we are discussing about 2 or 3% of gross national product for option of defending, for arms, for probably we have to start to discuss to avoid this kind of very big investment on this field for moving to other. Just half point of this percentage devoted to renewable energy technologies in the building sector, and we will reduce the carbon footprint. But another aspect that I would like to point out is the efficiency, energy recovery and energy efficiency. At the moment, if you look at the building stock, the energy efficiency of building stock is not particularly effective in Europe, not only in Italy. And we have to multiply efforts for increasing the energy efficiencies because increasing the energy efficiency and the energy recovery imply less energy, less greenhouse gas emission, less environmental impacts, and so on. There are many things to do. We have to encompass all the problems with a, circular idea according to life cycle thinking approach. Also, this approach is not new. We introduced this approach more than 20 years ago in the integrated product policy, but till now is not sufficiently diffused in our real life. Sorry for being long, sorry.
So, it's something you would like to add?
Not much, because I don't have the answer to this question. What I would say is that in UPEC, for example, you can see that the buildings are quite old and it's a nightmare for energy. So the only thing that I can see is what we're doing. Of course, with new buildings, we have the best norms that we can. And the only thing that I would say is that we have to, so it's a huge investment and it's also a long investment because in public finance, we have to think on a long term because we can't do those work very expensive work in one time. We don't have the money, so we have to think that on a long term, trying to plan all the work that we can do in terms of renovation. And so we have old buildings that are not good, but for those who were in the Sorbonne on Monday, you can see that for universities in France, we also have like very old university when you can't do anything. Even though it's your office, you can't move any table, you can't change any windows. So these are nightmares as well, because of the historical aspect, as you said, that sometimes we may even be it may be even less possible to do things. And so we have to address that, but I don't have the answer because I don't know how we can do that, really.
Yes, I don't maybe have a direct answer for you, but maybe just more on a broader scale. First of all, in Iceland, we are extremely lucky that we have nearly 100% renewable. So that is not an issue with the energy. But in general, more general, not only the University of Iceland, but the building industry or the building sector in Iceland is also very carbon heavy because we import a lot of things. And I think just to make the change needed, we need both like laws and regulations that are push for the change, incentives and so on, and support the change needed. But it's also what I've heard, because we at the Sustainability Institute at the University of Iceland, we have been working with architects and people in the building industry, and we have events and so on together with them. And what we've heard that, there are some innovative architects, for example, who are really want to push for more environmentally friendly buildings. But sometimes the contractors are the ones who are used to make things as before. So there is some change needed, and change is often difficult. So I think this is a long-term change that is needed to, so we can do things differently than before, although, so the contractors are often the barriers. But yeah, so that's just maybe more on a broader note. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. We are already getting closer to the finish of our discussion. Not really there yet, but that's why I promised to finish on time. So that's why I'm unfortunately not going to take more questions from the audience, but rather lead over to let's say wrap up and give our panelists all the opportunity to maybe give us some more ideas or insights from your experience in working with networks towards what would be something universities or university networks could or should do in the future. I think, or where could this go? So a bit more an open thing. I mean, I'm also sure that Maurizio, you at the network in Italy, of course, have some plans for next steps already. So that's why maybe I would start with you, that you can tell us what are the next steps? What's going to happen in the next 5 years?
5 years is
there could be 10. I don't know.
A long horizon. As RUS, we are trying to enhance the cooperation in the European context with many other involvement. Also, I believe that Aurora could be a good opportunity, and the main reason why today I'm here is for enhancing, for fostering and strengthening the potential cooperation between RUS and Aurora, but also with many other alliances. I know for them, or there are many others in the European context. Enhanced the cooperation is of paramount importance for many reasons that we described before. We have to strengthen cooperation in the national and the international context, and regarding the rules, the idea to enhance in the European context. And for doing this, we have to multiply the opportunities to apply for common proposal and keep in touch, avoiding that every business as usual daily life overwhelming our common life, and we have to find time for doing this. It is a suggestion that I define firstly for me, because tomorrow I will come back. I have many things to do, but it's very important, not only for us, but particularly for young generation, because in an horizon of 5 years, the main commitment of the RUS is to involve more and more young university students in this kind of activities and applying the Pact for Future that we define within the United Nations for applying in reality in the Italian context, but I hope also in the European context.
Thank you. I think that's quite a nice goal to involve more the students in the work as well. You want to go next, or
yeah?
Okay.
Maybe to say that I think it's important, even though it could be time consuming because we have so many things to do, but it's important to be involved in networks. It could be networks, national networks. We have a network for vice president for sustainability, for example, in France, which is very good because we can share the common experience of French universities and having input on what is doing on in other universities, which could be support and inspiring, and as well network as Aurora with people doing the same thing. I think is really important to have ideas, feeling supported when it's difficult or we have obstacles, and it as I said, it's inspiring. So even though it could be time consuming to attend all meetings, I think it's something very interesting to do on a national level outside, and we have to go on that to do that.
Yeah, I just totally agree with what has been said about the importance of networks. I think they are important because they break down the barriers between us. They give us opportunities to talk about best practices and the challenges, and that we feel that we are not alone on this journey, that we are all walking the same path. So and both, like has been said, both nationally, for example, in Iceland, that the universities in Iceland are then work together and talk about these things, and also then internationally. But I also wanted just to say that what is needed so we can make the change needed within universities, and what we at the Sustainability Institute, what we think is important, that we both need, we need really kind of a clear mandate from the leadership, especially from the higher leadership within the universities, like the rectors or the vice rectors, because we both need this top-down commitment, and then also both that, but also the bottom-up like engagement, that people feel that they are heard, and so on. And we need, and together, with the top-down engagement, that there is a clear strategy, that there's a strategy that supports sustainability, and with clear, measurable goals and targets. And who is responsible for what, which persons, which institutes or groups, and that we have, funding for that. But also, I think strategies are not enough, because talking about the bottom-up engagement, that both the staff and the students feel that they're heard, that they are a part of the solution. So that is also very important. So, yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you all. Maybe also that's what you said last, or nearly last. It's an important point with the involvement of or commitment by top management, but also like kind of anchoring sustainability at the institution. And I remember I found it quite interesting, the slides also Maurizio showed from the Italian universities, and how it changed over time, and how you can actually see that this is increasing. I mean, it's not 100%, but it's coming more and more. And I think that's, from my view, something which will be interesting to see in where we are in a couple of years, so that it's maybe totally normal that you have this quite integrated. But with that, I'm coming to the end of the panel, and first I would like to give an applause to our panelists. Thank you for joining us. Yeah, I didn't manage to include the audience as much as I wanted, but then the time was flying. Before I hand back to the colleagues of UPEC, I wanted to remind you on the workshops we have in the afternoon. If you have registered for one of them, you should have received an email with a bit more information. We have 3 of the workshops, the climate fresco, the biodiversity fresco, and the future literacy lab. They are all quite hands-on and promise to be quite interesting. They will be here at the rooms in the first floor. You can either, if you don't know which one is in which room, I mean, either check with the colleagues or check your emails where you should have received the further information. Other than that, I would like to thank you very much for joining us here. I would like to thank all the speakers. Yeah, and with that, I think we are quite well in time to hand over back to probably Martin and the colleagues from UPEC. Thank you very much.
Every conference has an end, and fortunately or unfortunately, as you like, we have arrived at this time, so we are ready for the closing ceremony. And the first thing I would like to do is to invite the organizing committee on stage, please. Come on. So I think they did a fantastic job. So I will present them a little bit without being too long. So Anna, who is Chief Aurora Officer in UPEC, and so she took care of more or less about everything, which was not taken care about. Pauline, many of you might have dealt with her on financial details, quotations, and trips. So thanks a lot, Pauline, for interacting very warmly and nicely with the speakers. It was great. And Chloe also did a lot of things, practical details, badges, and Armel, Head of Logistics. Also, thank you very much. Then communication, of course, Anita, thanks a lot for all this LinkedIn stuff. It was great that we had a live and all the communications you already sent out. I cannot follow them anymore. There are so many. And Najma also for the work on the communication you did and help us in Anita. Thank you. So a big thank also to you, Carol, for everything you did for this committee and your dedication to the organization of this conference. I'm really happy the whole international division also worked on this conference, and without your help it wouldn't be possible to have this like here.
Quick note, I just wanted to say a big thank you for Martin, because he did an amazing job as well. Thank you. And for Armel, because she did an amazing job. Thank you.
Not to forget those who worked on the UPEC magazine, and I think it is a very nice special edition of the UPEC magazine. It's really great. I really like it. And I don't know if Virginie Roustan is in the audience, which is our head of the direction of communication. I think not. So there's also Karine Danjean who worked on this. They worked very hard on this, I know, because all the text has to be validated internationally which is not in their habits, and it was not easy, but we arrived to print it out a few days before the conference. Okay, with this, please stay. No, please stay. Sorry. So with this being said, I would like to have the organizers of the next Aurora conference on stage, please. Petra and your delegation, Verena and Karen also. Karen, please. Maybe with the French delegation can push, or we can mix it all up. Why not? Or we can mix it all up, please. So where's the photograph? Where's the photographer? So please come a little more to the left, I think. I think there's too much people on this side. Please. Maybe Jean-Luc, you could also join us, please.
You've done all the work.
Okay, that's great. That's we do later. Before handing over the flag, I would like to invite Petra Günther as the chief organizer of the next conference, I guess, to say a few words, please.
So, of course, UDE feels extremely honored to host the next Aurora Annual. It will be a birthday. The child is growing and growing, and next May it will be 10. And of course, but before I say this, first or secondly, I would like to thank you for all the hospitality, for all the work and your generosity, your friendliness, and your patience with us. You know, we could come with everything like, oh, my Wi-Fi isn't working, or I need stickers for my poster. I can't find the luggage room. Things like that are really important. And I really was impressed by your brilliant organization. And I hope that we can at least pay back a little bit of what you gave to us when you come to Duisburg-Essen. And we will have, I'm quite sure the Vice Rector will agree, a kind of birthday party.
Thank you, Petra. So, before I do the flag ceremony, then I would like Jean-Luc to say a few words.
No, it was a pleasure, and now we have to move on. So thank you for all of you for being here with us, and I hope everything was okay, and I'm sure it was. And so kindness was also very important too. So thank you very much. And okay, just move on and.
So we have the photo with the flag, please. In the right sense, please. But you know what? Let's try. Okay. We're gonna have to get. So I hope you will make good use of this flag in Duisburg. You take them with you today.